Hey folks, David Thomas Tao here. I'm at the VinePair office in Manhattan, New York, the greatest city in the world, but we're gonna be reviewing something not from New York City, and that is the Bardstown Bourbon Company collaborative series release with Foursquare rum. It is a blend of whiskeys finished in Foursquare rum barrels. It's pretty exciting stuff, but before we get into that, I got two reminders for you. One, my full review is at the link in the description below. Please click on it and read it before you go out and consider buying this bottle, because I go into a lot of detail. I worked really hard. It would mean the world to me. You know what else would mean the world to me? Subscribe to VinePair on YouTube, where you're watching this right now. And if you don't think my whiskey reviews are that great, but you just hate watch these, that's fine too. I don't care. I'm just glad you're engaged. All right, Bardstown Bourbon Company is already one of the larger producers of American whiskey, but it's still a relatively new company. They were only founded in the mid-2010s in my hometown of Bardstown, Kentucky. And while they were waiting for their own distillate to come of age, they started sourcing whiskey from other producers, blending them, and in some cases, finishing them in different types of casks. This is a blend of 90% Indiana rye with a low rye mash bill. It's what we call a barely legal rye at 51% rye in the mash bill. 90% that blended with 10% of a 17-year Tennessee bourbon with an 84% corn mash bill. So 90% 7-year rye, 10% 17-year bourbon. It's an interesting blend of straight whiskeys finished in barrels from Foursquare rum, which is based in Barbados. We don't know exactly which type of barrels this whiskey was finished in. Foursquare produces a few different types of rum, but this whole thing was bottled at 53.5% alcohol. Oh, and if you want to pick up a bottle of this, Bardstown Bourbon Company released tens of thousands of these, and the suggested retail price is about $160. I still see these on shelves even months after the initial release. I do have one thing to say, and that's that I'm getting a little tired of a lot of cask finishes. I think they're often overdone, especially with sourced whiskeys. I think the flavors from the finishing casks are often overpowering. I am going to be holding Bardstown Bourbon Company to a pretty high standard here, because a lot of the releases in their collaborative series have been well done, and they've been done with finesse. Let's try it out. That's a good review pour. Not quite an ounce. Good review pour. I really do like to let whiskeys rest in a Glencairn glass before I review them. I have reviewed this one before, so I'm kind of shortcutting it a little bit. Baked apples, kind of a light caramel drizzled over those baked apples. I don't know if anyone in your family ever made those. My mom did. Not a super dark caramel. Nuts. I get nuts on this. Almonds, pecans, cashews. I don't think cashews are technically a nut, but I'm including them here. The thing I like about this on the nose is that it smells like a whiskey finished in rum barrels, but just kissed by that rum flavor. A lot of rum finishes on American whiskey are so overpowering. It smells and then also tastes like you're just drinking rum. You kind of lose the grain, you lose the whiskey, but I'm not losing that on the nose here. I get a little bit of that rum funkiness. I get some of the fruitiness that I might expect from a rum, but it's just kind of like sprinkled over those whiskey notes, which I really like. Pineapple, clove, blood oranges maybe? Pineapple and clove I get a lot of. The mouthfeel is a little thin, and in this case that's a really good thing. One thing I don't like about a lot of rum finished whiskeys is that the mouthfeel gets super syrupy. It tastes almost sickly sweet. This is lighter. It's refreshing. It gets some of those fruity elements. It gets some of those elements from the rum, not just fruit, but a lot of different ones. Again, I go into a lot of detail. It's not rum flavored whiskey, it's rum finished whiskey. I'm getting all the elements of this. Again, this is 90% 7-year rye from Indiana. I'm getting some of the spice that I want from that rye, some of like the baked cloves. I'm getting some of the oak. That's a 17-year Tennessee bourbon in this. And then I'm getting a lot of influence from the rum, but not too much. And you know what? This stays bright. It stays fruity. It stays sweet. All those three elements come together in pretty good balance. And it makes me think like Bardstown Bourbon Company was paying pretty darn close attention to the finishing time. 23 months, it's super specific. More than that, it would probably be too syrupy, maybe too sweet. This is like a really nice balance, and I applaud them for keeping this light, keeping this refreshing, and not over finishing it, because I can taste all three elements of flavor here from the two whiskey streams and also from the rum finish. This is done very well, and I think they really stuck the landing. Bardstown Bourbon Company's collaborative series, Foursquare Rum-Finished whiskey, I gave this 94 points out of 100. Again, I am not a fan of a lot of the rum finishes coming out in American whiskey right now. I think they're overdone. I think they're ham-fisted. I think oftentimes they're covering up bad whiskey. But this I really like, and of all of the rum finishes I've tasted, I think this is the best one in American whiskey right now. So kudos to Bardstown Bourbon Company, another really worthy addition to their collaborative series. I was really impressed. Like, this is a delicious pour. It's a nice little change up, but it's gonna be familiar to both whiskey drinkers and accessible to rum drinkers. It's a really, really nice balance. So there you have it. That's my review of Bardstown Bourbon Company's collaborative series, Foursquare Rum-Finished blend of whiskeys. That is a mouthful. I want to know if you've tried this, if you agree or disagree with my tasting notes. Let me know in the comments below. And if you have any cask finished whiskeys that you really love or really hate, also let me know. Can't wait to totally not argue with you in the comments. Until then, I'm Thomas Tao. Thanks for tuning in.